The gates of hell are open. You can feel it. The streets are lawless, the people are restless, and the rituals are everywhere. On July 1st, a ritual that hadn't been performed in over 2,000 years was done in secret.
About a month ago on July 1st, there was an announcement that we're just going to do a practice one with one of the 5 disqualified cows. The government said, okay, whatever. They ended up going out, doing a real cow. One of the cow's name was Tikva. It was a real offering. They did it all by the laws. And I have with me some of the ashes right here, red heifer ashes. It's pretty incredible. The red heifer, the last time that the red heifer was done was over 2,000 years ago. The first time it was done by Moses. The second time it was done by Ezra from the book in the Bible. And that shows you how long the ashes can last for. So a pure red heifer doesn't come about all the time. And in this generation, we had 21 of them. And they successfully performed the ritual about a month ago. Now, in the ritual, you're supposed to have hyssop. I have also hyssop that is from the actual ritual, and also the red heifer ashes. And these get put into a clay jar and then sprinkled on people in a healing ritual. And it removes the impurity of death and allows for people to heal. So since this started, they have been sprinkling on people. There was a man with Alzheimer's who just started remembering everything, sight to the blind. There's some real miracles that have happened in the last month since this thing has gone down.
The red heifer sacrifice. From that moment forward, chaos erupted. Execution-style shootings in Philadelphia, stabbings on buses and trains, zombified wastelands of addicts, lawlessness spreading like wildfire. This is not coincidence. This is not politics. This is the mark of an open portal, and demons are feeding.
We are summoning the demon. You know all those stories where there's the guy with the pentagram and the holy water, and he's like, yeah, he's sure he can control the demon.
East CERN, the leading force in European nuclear research, has returned to the forefront with groundbreaking revelations that may transform our comprehension of the cosmos. We delve into the depths of why CERN scientists claim to have opened a portal into another dimension.
Actually, CERN is dealing with radionuclear research. But it is more than that, because there are lots of physicians, I know some, they're doing very strange experimentation. There are beings from portals coming in and out. It's physicists from the CERN who told me this.
They've testified to beings coming in and out of portals.
Yes.
Where do they feed? On your attention. Every phone is a black scrying mirror. A magical device. Every time you scroll, violent clips, murder reels, outrage videos. You are not watching the news. You are offering a sacrifice of energy. And here's what most people don't realize. The blue light from those screens is designed to wipe memory, fragment focus, and disrupt your mind's ability to hold truth.
Hey, I know this is about to sound fake, but these scientists in Japan just literally figured out how to erase memories from your brain using blue light. Imagine going through something traumatic, and instead of getting years of therapy, a doctor just shines a blue light to your brain and then boom, the memory's gone. Guys, this is not Black Mirror right now. This is actual research from Japan, and this is real. So scientists actually just tested this on mice by using something called optogenetics. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically where they hack brain cells so that they can be controlled. They trained the mice to fear a shock, and then whenever they lit up the fear center of the brain with blue light, boom, that long-term memory just vanished.
The reason that all your computer screens are blue lit, the reason none of them are red lit, the reason none of them pay attention to circadian biology is because that original technology was developed in a government program that Bobby Kennedy knows about and I happen to know about because I went to medical school at LSU. For those of you who've never heard about Operation Paperclip, you think it's all conspiracy theory. So at 2-lane neurology and 2-lane neurosurgery in the 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s, the CIA started a program there where they would do all these crazy things to monkeys. The CIA wanted to see how they could control things utilizing different things like drugs and things like that. Where the neurosurgeons got involved, which is my clade, we would drill tops of the heads off, put wires into the thalamus, put electricity in there, and kind of see what kind of behavioral changes we could have. One of the guys that was in that program was a guy named Professor Delgado. When he saw that we could control the behavior with the wired device, he said, what if we do it wirelessly? So he checked it in monkeys and checked it in bulls, and it turned out you can do it wirelessly with RFID chips and semiconductors. Then the CIA took it to the next level. They said, well, since this is electromagnetic radiation, what if we did it through light through screens? And it turns out you can.
It makes you forget. It makes you passive. It makes you feed the beast again and again. This is why outrage is allowed, why nothing ever changes and only gets worse, why violence is amplified. Social media is the altar. Your attention is the blood offering. Look around at the events of the last few years. George Floyd, seemingly scripted, suffocated in broad daylight, his name chanted worldwide as if invoking a name, which also opened the way for chaos in cities. COVID lockdowns silenced humanity, initiating us into fear. The vaccine, now admitted in Senate testimony, caused 74% of the autopsy deaths. That was not medicine. That was mass sacrifice. Fake elections, Epstein's Island, billionaire moguls worshipped like gods, all part of the same priesthood. And the festivals? Astro World, Nova Festival, October 7th. Blood Moon concerts of Gaga. Festivals have always been sacred Sabbaths on the occult calendar. Now they are inverted. The stage is the altar. The crowd is the sacrifice. You must understand, none of this is random. It is the inversion of universal law. Hermetic principle says, as above, so below. They inverted it. As below, so above. What is low, base, and filthy, they lift it up as holy.
In the cult, abusers will dress up as Jesus before the abuse so that they literally have it in their mind that Jesus is the problem.
Commerce says, consent makes the law. They inverted it, trick you into contracts you never read. Silence, treated as agreement. Maxim says he who does not deny agrees.
Because there's people coming out in the public that are saying what your evolution is going to be, like Noah Harari.
In the book, if I understand it correctly, you argue that actually the amazing breakthrough that we are experiencing right now not only will potentially make our life better, but they will create, and I quote you, new classes and new class struggles, just as the Industrial Revolution did. Can you elaborate for us?
Yes, in the Industrial Revolution, we saw the creation of a new class of the urban proletariat, and much of the political and social history of the last 200 years involved what to do with this class and the new problems and opportunities. Now, we see the creation of a new massive class of useless people. As computers become better and better in more and more fields, there is a distinct possibility that computers will outperform us in most tasks and will make humans redundant. And then the big political and economic question of the 21st century will be, what do we need humans for? Or at least, what do we need so many humans for?
Do you have an answer in the book?
At present, the best guess we have is keep them happy with drugs and computer games.
Nobody rebuts him and gets in his face. They all pay for these huge stages, so they go on and everybody bows to them, but nobody rebuts. And in a court of law, if you have a conflict, you have to rebut. Silence is acquiescence. Acquiescence is agreement. There's no ignorance under the law. These are very important maxims that people need to understand, because you're not going to get second chances for this shit. There's going to be no second chances. They don't care.
They inverted it. Your silence is their victory. Fraud vitiates all contracts. They inverted it. Fraud became the foundation of government, finance, and elections. This is why society feels insane. Because the laws of God and nature are still there, but they've been flipped upside down. Here's what no one is noticing. The world is already demon-possessed. Not someday in the future. Now, look at the random stabbings, the executions on sidewalks, the mothers abandoning children, the youth mutilating their bodies. These are not just bad decisions. These are signs of occupation. Most people are walking shells, harvested for their energy, unaware that they are puppets. And disbelief is the perfect shield for the parasite. If you don't believe demons exist, you never defend yourself, and you remain food. This is why endless clips of violence cycle again and again, not to inform you, to feed them. Every repost of rage, every angry talking point, every repeat of horror. That is not resistance. That is ritual participation. You think you're fighting back by spreading outrage, but you are baptizing demons in your energy.
Your false authority is broken.
This is why Christians saying, just declare Jesus as your Lord and Savior, misses the point. They know declaring matters, but they don't understand why. Because words create, and thoughts are energy. Because everything is commerce. Courts run on contracts. Your silence is agreement. Your fear is consent. No man is bound to obey an unjust law. But if you never declare it, you live as if you are bound. He who fails to assert his rights has none. If you don't declare, you forfeit. No law can bind the living without consent. If you don't rebut, you consent. Do you see? Declarations are not superstition. They are law, spiritual law, universal law, commercial law. It's all the same principle. Most people's biggest fear is court. But why do they fear courts? Because they don't know the law. They think the judge is God. They think the officer is king. But criminals, those demon-possessed men roaming the streets, they live as if nothing binds them. They act lawless because no one enforces law upon them. And here's the inversion. The righteous fear courts and contracts. The wicked ignore them completely. So demons rule. But once you learn the maxims of law, once you know the truth, you realize no judge, no cop, no demon, no archon can outrank your living declaration. At the heart of all of this is egregore creation. When you believe in hopelessness, you create demons of despair. When you replay outrage, you create demons of rage. When you idolize moguls, rappers, celebrities, you empower parasites. And when billions of people consent to fraud, fear, and silence, they feed the Antichrist egregore. But belief also creates the inverse. When you declare sovereignty, when you stand in honor, when you invoke maxims and wisdom, when you feed archetypes of flame, dragons, archangels, guardians, you anchor higher realities into this world. This is why music and movies matter. Rap normalizes murder. Pop glamorizes inversion. Movies teach possession. Even just having fun is weaponized. Every dopamine hit lowers your focus. Every distraction makes you unfit for war. And this is war, not of flesh and blood, but of spirit and law. So, how do we win? First, stop feeding them. Outrage is their ritual. Break the loop. Second, declare your sovereignty. A man is known by his words and bound by them. Use your words to unbind false contracts. Third, learn the law and all of them. Ignorance of the law excuses no one. If you don't know, you will always be enslaved. 4. Create counter egregores. Build thought forms of light, flame, sovereignty. Give them belief, imagination, declaration. Feed them instead. 5. Stand fearless. No one is above the law. Not the judge, not the cop, not the billionaire, and not the demon. Truth is sovereign over all procedure. The gates of hell are open. Most of the world is already possessed. But sovereignty is not lost, nor is hope. You can walk with dragons, not judges. You can wield truth as a sword and shield. You can declare yourself living. And once you know the law, you can see the inversion. And once you see the inversion, once you know the maxims, once you reclaim attention, no ritual can bind you. Because fraud vitiates all contracts, and sovereignty is eternal. Outrage is their ritual. Silence is their harvest. Attention is their altar. Belief is their weapon. Now you know the law. Now you know the game. Now you know the way out. The question is, will you keep feeding demons, or will you declare sovereignty and walk in flame?